And sometimes silence is the loudest thing that God uses in our lives. Silence is the loudest thing that God uses. Where are you, Lord, right now? Have you ever asked that of the Lord yourself? That's silence. And some of you think that that kind of silence is a mistake. Some of you are in that kind of silence at this very moment, and you prayed, and you have worshiped, and you have been waiting patiently upon the Lord, and heaven just seems to be quiet. There's not much communication coming down, if you would. Please listen. God's delays are not his denials. He's getting ready to do something so holy in your life. He's getting ready to do something so transformational in your life. He's getting ready to do something so powerful in you that even heaven is pausing for you to be able to see what he's about to do in your heart. It's something that happens. When heaven is silent, it is not because God has forgotten about you. Let's be honest. That's the first thing that we think. God, why do you forget about me? Especially if you have been a good Christian. Can I say that in quotations? I'm going to church, Lord. What is happening now? I've been tithing for the first time ever, and now I cannot hear you speak to me, you may be saying. I've been reading my Bible. I've been praying consistently. What is this all about? You see, God has not forgotten you. He's preparing you to fulfill the promise that he has for you. He's preparing you to fulfill the promise that he has set aside for you. Have you ever noticed, it's been a while since I've been to school, but back in the day, before tests were taken on an iPad, are tests taken on iPads now when you're kids now? Or are they still using paper and pencil number 2? Remember, you're supposed to bring your pencil number 2, otherwise it didn't count. I'm like, I don't know why, but okay. But remember, back in the day, the classroom always got quiet when the teacher gave out a test. No one was talking. No one was laughing. Not because the teacher was gone. It's not that the teacher went absent, but because the teacher was watching to see what you have been learning throughout these months. My friend, heaven's silence is like that. God is not absent. He's observing. He's preparing to promote you through what you have learned. And you're not going to like this part. Through what you have learned in the fire. Do you know that? It is when things are hard. It is when things are difficult. It is when things are hard that the Lord reveals his deepest truths to our lives. That's when he reveals to you, I will never leave you nor forsake you. That's when it means the most. One of my finest pictures in my mind is always the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. You guys heard of those guys before? Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the book of Daniel, in case you're lost. And what amazes me is that they chose to stay in the fire. It says in there clearly that the ropes burned up. Remember? They tied them up, they tossed them in. And yet they stayed in the fire. They could have walked at any moment. They could have walked out of them. What was anybody going to say to them? Hey, you know what? Get back in there. How are they going to make it? They just saw something incredible happen, and yet they remain in the same furnace. Why? Who remembers? My papa can always know some things. Because there was a fourth one with them, and his resemblance was just like the Son of God. You see, they understood God is with me right now, right here. I know I'm going through something traumatic. I know I'm going through, speaking of a trauma, right? They burned me alive, Lord, you know. I know I'm going through something hot, something difficult, but God, your presence is so real. They didn't want to trade comfort for what God was demonstrating in the presence of him being there in the midst of the hardest thing they had ever experienced. And maybe that has happened to you before. You ended up in the hospital. One of your kids ended up in the hospital. And you cried out to the Lord and said, Lord, I need you more now than ever. That was perhaps the very first time you felt and experienced the presence of the Lord.